Did Gojo lose because he's a fraud? Or is he a fraud because he lost? We all thought Sukuna was the fraudulent one, but he managed to beat those allegations after chapter 236, and the one who helped him clear those allegations was none other than Satoru Gojo. Now, after Gojo's recent defeat to Sukuna and his own questionable statements about himself and Sukuna, it might be time to question if Gojo was a fraud all along. To first determine that, I think it's important we know what the definition of a fraud is first. A fraud is a person or thing intended to deceive others, typically by unjustifiably claiming or being credited with accomplishments or qualities. So basically, we need to determine if Gojo meets the requirements of unjustifiably claiming or being credited with a certain quality. I think there are two easy claims we can point to that can be used to prove Gojo is a fraud. First, Gojo is stated to be the strongest, and two, Gojo told Kenny and Sukuna that he would win. So, Gojo claimed he's the strongest, and being the strongest is a very strong part of his character. The strongest of what, exactly? Well, he's the strongest sorcerer alive in the modern era, stated by the narrator on multiple occasions. One time was during the Shibuya incident, when Gojo wiped out about 1,000 transfigured humans in 299 seconds. When Yuta was first shown in Sendai Colony, the narrator stated Yuta was only second to Gojo in this modern era. Then, at the start of the face-off between Sakuna and Gojo, the narrator also claimed it was the strongest sorcerer in history, Sakuna, versus the strongest sorcerer of today, Gojo. With that said, was Gojo actually the strongest sorcerer in the modern day? Well, if we're judging from the time when Gojo was alive and in his prime, then yes, Gojo is the strongest sorcerer of the modern day. From the moment he was born, he changed the Jujutsu world. There was only one man that made Gojo suffer defeat, Toji Fushiguro. Yet that defeat is what propelled Gojo into truly becoming the strongest. Even Kenny himself knew that he and the disaster curses had no hope of defeating Gojo, which is why they created the plan to seal Gojo inside the prison realm. Kenny's backup plan was, of course, Sukuna, the strongest sorcerer in history. So, essentially, in order to beat the strongest sorcerer of the modern era, Sukuna, the strongest in history, basically the past, was needed. So yes, Sukuna did seem to kill Gojo, but that doesn't dispute the fact Gojo is the strongest sorcerer of his era. It took the strongest sorcerer from the past in order to beat him. In that sense, Gojo is not a fraud, since he was only claimed to be the strongest of the modern era. Of course, the counter-argument. On not one, but two occasions, Gojo stated that he could beat Sukuna at full strength. Once was at the start of the series, when Yuji asked if Gojo was stronger. Gojo specifically says that if Sukuna were to completely regain his power, it might be a little tough, but he'll win. Then, when Gojo was freed from the prison realm, after the date of Gojo's fight with Sukuna was set, Kenny asked if Gojo thought he could win. Gojo replied by saying he will win. And did Gojo end up beating Sukuna? No. Gojo did not just lose, he might have just died. Bro got violated so bad that not only did he get sliced in half, but Sukuna was not given it his all by Gojo's own admittance. Gojo gave it his all trying to reach Sukuna, but it was still not enough. In fact, Gojo is even sort of disappointed that Sukuna wasn't able to give it his all against him. You could say that's a bad luck. Gojo said he'd win, but he really ended up losing to Sukuna, who didn't even go all out. Yet in the end, Sukuna gave Gojo his respect and swore that he'd never forget him. Sukuna himself, the king of curses and strongest sorcerer in history, said that, which means it was well deserved. Gojo did push Sukuna to the brink, where Sukuna stated he could even die against a hollow purple, and this fight even made him feel nervousness and the height of tension for the first time in 1,000 years. No matter what, the fight would have still been close, and it's a shame to Gojo that he couldn't get Sukuna to give him everything. In the end, Gojo did indeed get killed when he himself said he'd win, and if that's enough for you to consider Gojo a fraud, then so be it. But if you want to look at it more deeply, Gojo did put up an all-time performance, to which even the strongest in history himself had to respect him. In the end, there's different ways you can look at this. The narrator, multiple characters, and even Gojo himself claimed he was the strongest of his era, and that really can't be denied. Yet, Gojo himself also claimed he could beat the strongest in history, and died horribly in a close fight. Personally, with most of the evidence presented, I think it's enough to clear Gojo of most of the fraudulent allegations, in my opinion. Yeah, saying that he beat Sukuna at full power was a fraudulent claim, when we now know he lost. But I don't think this defeat turns Gojo's entire character into a fraud. His claim of beating Sukuna turned out to be false, but his actions showed that the claim wasn't unjustifiable. Gojo was justified in believing he could win, and this is further proven by how close the fight was. Sukuna himself would not respect Gojo if he was a fraud all along. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments whether or not you think Gojo is a fraud, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd also appreciate it if you could drop a like and subscribe. If you want to see some more JJK content, I got some over here too. Peace.